Welcome to the Eric Metaxas Show. Just yesterday, I caught a wild bird with my bare hands, and then I set it free. Because that's just who I am. When you love something, you set it free. But first, you must catch it with your bare hands. That's the rule. And now, my friend Eric Metaxas, who is a lot like that caught bird. Fly, little Eric, fly. Be free and fly. Fly to your microphone in the mountains. Hee-yaw! Hee-yaw!
Yep, I think we're going to edit that out. Folks, it's the Eric Metaxas Show. If you don't mind, I was going to spend the whole program pushing my new book, Donald Builds the Wall. I got a kid in college. The rent is not going down. I need your help. Donald Builds the Wall is, I offer it out there. It's a fable for our time. There's a vicious gang in the book. It's the MSNBC 13 gang. And the reason
I just turned to that page.
I love the fact that Ann Coulter is in the studio, so I'm no longer going to talk about my silly book, Donald Builds the Wall. I'm going to talk to Ann Coulter. And
this is so great.
You're darn right it is. It's the greatest book ever. Listen, the illustrations are by my friend Tim Ragland, who's a stinking genius. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have done any of this. He's brilliant. There's a lot of funny stuff in there.
I'm going to read this every night to put me in a good mood and give me good dreams.
No, it's good.
If
it's
only
all,
it were true.
It is true. You'll see. You'll see. We were talking. I just want to talk to you about everything, and I think let's start here. This culture that we're living in. There's so many people that recognize that we've kind of gone crazy. Now, your average American hasn't gone crazy, but the media and the cultural elites, they've always been leaning crazy, but they've
totally
now gone
lost their minds.
They've now gone full crazy, where they don't seem to understand that there's a rooster and a chicken, and that's all there is. They don't seem to get that. They don't seem to get a lot of stuff that is so basic, and I think average Americans, because they're trying to focus on raising their kids and doing what they're doing, they tune a lot of it out.
Yes.
But you know and I know that the cognoscenti, the people who live in Manhattan, the people who are on Twitter are living in an alternate reality.
No, and they have totally, you're completely right. They have come out of their shell under Trump. We can thank him for that. And I mean that genuinely. I think it may be the only thing we get out of him, because it used to be, more subtle. No, not anymore. Now you can't. I used to joke about being the New York Times most loyal reader. I subscribed and read it online from law school, really right up until about sometime during the 2016 campaign. And it used to be, the headlines would be deceptive. You'd have to turn to the inside, A17, where the stories continued, and it would be paragraph 23. You finally get the crucial part of the story.
That's right.
There would be corrections 2 weeks later.
Right.
But now you can't even get the truth, ever, not in paragraph 23. It's just hysteria, this business they've started now about the only thing that built America was slavery.
Can you imagine? Look, we don't even need to go there because I will lose my mind.
Every media outlet fell for this. I mean, everyone who saw this, the story of the little girl, and she's a little girl. I'm not going to blame her. This is what gets rewarded in America. Who claimed that her dreadlocks or her braids, whatever it was, had been chopped off. She was 10 years old.
And everyone knew instantly.
Except the entire mainstream media
a hoax.
That ran it as a real story. There were long denunciatory stories. The fact that Vice President Pence's wife was a part-time teacher, it was a Christian college, you should have seen.
And we know she's a racist because I've had dinner with her.
Liberal Twitter was just full of how, if this is Christianity, I'd rather burn in hell. And then, of course, a week later, it turns out to be fake. This is what our mainstream media do. There was a story usually I don't even bother with this stuff anymore, although some of my columns are nothing but going through and showing how the New York Times is lying to you. That's obviously a lot of Adios America, and actually a lot of all of my books. This week, Chicago Tribune has an article quoting an NYU immigration professor saying the term illegal alien is rarely used in the law. This isn't a legal term at all. So I just start citing section.
I read your column and I was laughing that you had actually cited the sections of the law where it's mentioned.
And that's only the beginning of it. Then I noticed that it was a quote from an NYU law professor of immigration. So I looked up the New York law, section 73, illegal aliens. Okay, so how has the Chicago Tribune responded? They've reposted the article in their lifestyle section. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? You're going to correct us on Twitter, Coulter?
Yeah.
Okay,
because the Lifestyle section, we know that's sort of opinion-y.
We're going to run it again. So you can't trust anything in the media. And I don't think anything, I've said this many times, nothing can be accomplished in this country until the total destruction of the media and we rebuild something else.
What do we mean by that? Because again, I feel like I want to translate what you're saying. It's the same thing when Trump says it's fake news, it's fake news. What he's saying is that journalists have, in fact, abdicated what was a sacred role. It wasn't just about making money or getting clicks, or it was about doing a job. Like a doctor, yes, he makes money, but he has a sacred calling as a doctor. Teachers used to have a sacred calling as a teacher. Journalists used to behave that way.
No, they're lying
Something
activists.
Has happened now where they have ceased to do that, and I've noticed it. And so just because there are a few that still do it, typically international reporters,
right.
They're actually journalists.
Daily Mail
and stuff.
Is fantastic.
Okay,
but if I want to know what's happened in America, I check Daily Mail.
So when you talk about, we've got to get rid of the media, what you mean obviously
the
is
entire
that
mainstream media, things that the only place you can get the truth on things are often, blogs, web pages, something like Second City Cop. There's a Chicago cop who is secretly blogging. They're dying to find out who he is. Dying. I highly recommend that web.
I'm pretty sure it's Rachel Dolezal. Let me say.
But they're the ones who are being, where you can get the truth. I mean, I realize the New York Times and basically every television network, it's just a bulletin board for there's something going on. Like you'll see the story about the Christian school in wherever it was, Virginia, with the fake story, the hoax hate crime. I think most Americans, and if you don't do this, you should behave this way. This is what I do. I think to myself, oh, there's a story involving a school in X town. I'll have to go online and find out what happened.
Wow.
But you don't actually read the story where it is being reported. I'm not going to get the truth there. I just know, Minnesota, there's a tax issue. I'll go online and, Powerline or something and find out what's really going on.
But this is why I think this president has done a great service. He has, in effect, by his behavior,
exposed them,
outed these people who have been in the weeds for 50 plus years. What am I saying? They've been there since the 20s. But as we know, these people have finally been outed. So the question then becomes, once they're outed and we can see them for what they are, do we believe that the free market will deliver news platforms that will deliver the truth?
Well, yeah, it could be doing that now. And at the risk of upsetting your audience, something else Trump hasn't done, which is to say protect, his biggest supporters, people like.
My audience are not all Trump supporters. I hope not. But I am not. Always talking about the president or praising him. I'm interested in what's true.
Should have said it last segment. So. What I was talking about last week, or whenever this
when you were wearing that same blouse. Go ahead.
Look, it's very important. We only have, how many months do we have left now? 13 months until the next election. I put it to you is, if Trump doesn't seem to feel like he needs to keep his promises to the voters in his first term, will he feel more or less obliged to do so in a second term? I figure we got 13 months to put pressure on him. Don't mistake me. I will not be voting for one of the lunatics. They're so insane on the Democratic side. I mean, even I am going to have to vote for Trump.
Okay.
But now is the time to put pressure on him and not to play games and pretend like he's building the wall. He isn't. He is replacing sections where there were fence. Okay, admittedly, it was often just a crappy little sawhorse or something, and he builds a real fence. But look, it makes a difference if he's built it on a new section of the border. And, I mean, as Michael Behe says in the Darwinism debate, you need a minimum of 3 pieces for a mousetrap. 2 pieces doesn't catch any mice, none at all. Same thing with the wall. When we have a 3,000-mile border, building a wall on 26 miles, that's 2 pieces of the mousetrap.
Got it.
We need the full mousetrap. So I feel like this is when we have to put pressure on him. And one of the things...
I never thought you'd bring up Michael Behe to make your case. Isn't that amazing? I interviewed him at Socrates in the City.
He's fantastic.
Yes. A long interview. You can watch it online, SocratesInTheCity.com. He's a hero. All the intelligent design guys are heroes. They're amazing.
He helped me with my book, Godless. Because, I have like 4 chapters on Dar.
We're going to a break. We'll be right back with, what's your name, sweetie?
The clouds got in my...
Hey there, folks. You've heard me talk about high school girls that are being forced to compete against biological boys that identify as girls. You've heard me talk about cake artists, florists, business owners that are being forced by their states to create work that is contrary to their religious beliefs. Now, if this can happen to them in America, it can happen to you. Freedom is under attack in America, religious freedom in particular. I'm thankful for my friends at the Alliance Defending Freedom because they stand up. They're a nonprofit organization. They do this for no cost. They need our help. So this month I'm asking every one of my listeners to support Alliance Defending Freedom. An investment of $100 would help ADF defend your freedom and provide the necessary resources to fight pivotal court battles. Please, folks, join the fight for freedom. It is our fight. It's a fight that we need to get involved in now. Please give to ADF. You can click below, and please be generous. Thank you so much. Hey, folks, even Pink Floyd agrees that the president should build the wall. Isn't it amazing that Roger Waters, all those guys, they're rooting for it, and Ann Coulter. Now, you've never been with Pink Floyd, but you've listened to them.
Yes,
is that
I
where
have.
you got your idea about the wall? All right, let's talk about. Well, we were talking about a few things, Ann. You were
The
just
media.
You were
I was
just
saying
talking
one
about the
other
media.
promise that
Go.
he
Go.
hasn't.
Yes. Is what?
This isn't like a promise, like, build the wall, but it's really stunning that Trump isn't protecting his own supporters on social media. Some of his biggest supporters and most important supporters, who do they go after? The ones who are appealing not to our generation or
Right.
really our demographic, but the wild ones like Milo Yiannopoulos, who was with Trump from the beginning. Wild, funny, brilliant, and if you have met anyone, in his from the age of 10 to 25, they love Milo. Laura Loomer does a lot of great stuff. Gavin McInnes, the founder of Vice magazine, he defined hip. He
Well,
brought
I've had
skinny
Milo
jeans
on
to
this
Brooklyn.
program a number of times, and no one else seems to have him on.
Well, he's been banned, from every social media platform.
He hasn't been banned from this program.
No, but he's
No,
banned.
but I
Come on.
know that.
He
Look.
can't make money anymore. Same thing with Laura Loomer, same thing with Gavin McInnes. And people like you and me just write it off and say, well, that won't happen to me. I think we're all going to be thrown off election year, and then they'll say, oh, it was a glitch. Sorry about that once the election is over. It's a very simple fix. Trump can get Congress to do anything. They will defend crazy things he says. They will defend insane tweets.
Are we living in the same country?
I'm making a point.
I don't think they ever defend him or much. He's got like 5 people that defend him in the GOP.
You know they all hate him, and yet not one of them will accept, like Romney, who apparently always secretly wanted to be John McCain. By the way, really good guy primaried Romney when he ran. He's only first term. Just because he's old, he's not like he's a senior statesman.
Right.
I hope that guy primaries him again. His name is something like Thomas Kennedy. In any event, except for a few like Romney and Flake.
They'll do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he has enormous power over them because of his supporters.
Okay.
Plus, try to explain to your voters why you haven't changed the law that allows Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them to say, no, you can't sue us. We're just a bulletin board. Hey, still talking.
We're
just a bulletin board. We're just a bulletin board. While simultaneously saying, oh, but we're also editor of the New York Times, and we will determine what you can post on our sites. No, it's one or the other. If you open them up to lawsuits, then all of Trump's supporters get back on.
Okay.
But right now, they're going to be thrown off. You and I are chilled. We can't tweet the things we want to tweet. We can't say the things we want to say. People are constantly suspended. You've lost, again, James Woods, Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos. Look, even Alex Jones. And, conservatives all said, well, he did have conspiracy theories. Give me a break. Spike Jones makes movies that are conspiracy theories. Michael Moore makes movies that are conspiracy theories.
Okay. As usual, the reason I want to interrupt you is because now there are 9 things that I'm not going to get to say because I want to ask you. You made many important points. First of all, you talk about, you make it sound. Now, you know the law and legislation better than I do, but it seems to me that you make it sound easy, as though he could do X and he's not doing X. what can he do? In other words, we've had hearings on Google and Facebook and stuff. What's supposed to happen?
He knows perfectly well what he needs to do, but then someone told him he'd have to make a phone call, and he decided he'd rather sit in his bed, eat a cheeseburger, and tweet.
Tell me what he would need to do.
Tell Congress to change this section. I mean, there are plenty of senators. I think it's section, everybody's always talking about section 236 or something, whatever it is.
So to make
allows them not to be sued, to be simultaneously. I mean, the New York Times would love that. We will decide what gets published in our newspaper, and you can't ever sue us for what we publish in our newspaper. That's what Twitter, Facebook, all these social, and this sprung from the point, how do we destroy the media? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the liars who make democracy impossible, because we need to have an informed populace to vote on what's going on in the world. That's not what we have. We are living in Orwell's 1984, where up is down and black is white. And people are, as you say, starting to see it, and that is thanks to Trump, not from him trying to do anything. They just lost their minds when they saw him and exposed themselves. Well, you need the alternative media to rise up in their stead. That's not being allowed. And it's very easy for Congress to change that, and very hard for Democrats to be against it.
I have to say, I've been disappointed, particularly lately, in Fox News. They kicked Todd Starnes to the curb.
For a really pretty good joke.
Which kind of amazed me. But I mean, it really did amaze me that they did that.
The one that I didn't like was Michael Knowles, because I don't watch Fox News. But one of my friends, actually a professional comedy writer, very, very smart man, called me and said, in the middle of Michael Knowles' interview with, I think it was Harris Faulkner, was sitting in for one of the primetime shows, and he said, you got to turn this on now, turn it on now, and I watched the second half. My friend loved it so much, he backed it up on his TV so I could listen to the entire segment. It was about that little, that girl out of the horror movie, Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
How dare you? Man, she's like out of a Stephen King movie.
It's a little
anyway,
scary. You're thinking of Children of the Corn specifically, not just
Michael
any
Knowles,
Stephen King
who's a very
movie.
handsome young man. I know him from L.A.
Yep.
He was hilarious, and it was much like your interview with the Trump impersonator. It wasn't just the Trump impersonator, it was the way you interviewed him. Similarly, with Michael Knowles, it wasn't just that he was being funny, it was that the Hillary person or Obama person, whatever it was, some nut liberal, was getting so hysterical and angry and just losing his demeanor, let's say.
Right. He's full of demeanor.
He's full of demeanor. It was the most hilarious segment. I'm going out, I tweet out, great segment, everybody should watch this. Within 10 minutes, I see Fox News announces Michael Knowles will no longer be allowed on their airwaves.
You're kidding.
Yes, because again,
I didn't know who he was. I didn't know.
Get a lobotomy, you'll be on like that.
Well, it is interesting. A lot of people in there during the day. I mean, we know that I can't think of his name. He may as well be Don Lemon. He's on every day at 3:00.
If you're talking about Fox, you may as well be talking about what happens on Mars. I do not know.
Well, no, it's Shepard Smith. He kind of fulminates against Trump almost exactly the way Don Lemon does, and that's on Fox News. Harris Faulkner, I was on there briefly once,
She's
and
great.
I said some things about pro-life, and she cut me right off. And I just thought, am I MSNBC? And then I realized, no, I'm on Fox. I don't know. That's another story. Matt Lauer, you wanted to touch on that scandal, the Me Too scandal.
That's what I wanted to talk about because, well, for one thing, I think conservatives are getting something wrong about this, which is I saw a lot of them tweeting, if people don't know the story, he has been accused, and Ronan Farrow, who broke the whole Harvey Weinstein story. So his book, I think, comes out today or something.
Yeah.
And whoa, lots of big press for it. And one of the news stories is that a young girl working at NBC News accuses Matt Lauer of a violent anal rape.
I was always hoping we'd get to that phrase on this program, and it only took 4 years.
And as my friends are saying to me, Ann, I love how you're taking a violent anal rape and turning it into an
rape
HR
will do.
And turning it into an HR issue. But that is the point I'm making, because many conservatives are going back to the same obvious, boring point, that the victim of the violent anal rape then went on to continue to have an affair with him. Now, okay, admittedly, yep, I'm with you, conservatives. Feminists have sort of expanded the definition of rape.
Right.
Admittedly, totally with you on that.
Right.
That isn't the point. Yes, I think if most people violently raped, we'll leave it at that, don't then have an affair with their rapist. Don't call him up and say, you're free for a drink.
Most people tend not to want to go
so
out with
I'll
their
admit
rapists.
this is not my typical definition of a rape.
Right.
But what conservatives should be seeing in this is just the utter blinding, disgusting, stinky hypocrisy of these moral monsters. I mean, all of them married, all of them having affairs. I have had jobs before. I can't imagine when I was working at a law firm, I'm going on a business trip, as she was. She's in Sochi, Russia. And she's having 5 shots at the bar with Meredith Vieira. Matt Lauer goes up to Matt Lauer's room twice. That's where the alleged violent rape occurs.
Right.
And then she has the affair. Try to imagine, listeners, when you've had a job or if you have a job now. You're young, you've just started your job. So I'm on a business trip with a partner doing shots in the bar with him and then going to his hotel room. But that is just all in a day's work at our media. And the other great thing was, in heavy.com, they do 5 quick facts about, and it's about the accuser here. Just, in the casual of this short little story, she worked on Meredith Vieira on a documentary that turned out to be totally false. 15 years later, turned out the guy was a con man.
Hey.
So we get...
Everybody
They're not even doing what their basic job is.
Every one of us has participated in an elaborate hoax on network news. Come on. We'll be right back with Ann Coulter. Have you done your Christmas shopping yet? I'm not joking. You got to think about these things in advance. If you want to get all of your Christmas shopping done today, can I recommend buying some copies of my brand new book, Donald Builds the Wall? It's really funny. It's totally appropriate for kids, but it's also appropriate for adults, which is why if you have anybody that wants a laugh at what's happening in America today and who also maybe wants to celebrate what this president is actually accomplishing, may I recommend this book? I know I'm biased because I wrote it, but I didn't illustrate it, and the illustrations are even more amazing than the writing. Please get a copy of Donald Builds the Wall today. Hey there, folks. It's the Eric Metaxas Show. My first question to Ann Coulter in this segment. Ann, have you bought a copy of Donald Builds the Wall?
Well, yes, I have.
No, you haven't. I gave that to you. That's cheating. Okay, second question. Actually, we're talking about Matt Lauer and the Me Too situation, and I heard there's several points that need to be made. The larger point is that the media culture, the culture of Hollywood, we've always kind of known it. When you hear about Harvey Weinstein, I think
Jeffrey Epstein.
I think we all knew that they were pigs, that they did things that if you had a friend that even associated with someone who did those things, you'd smack them in the head and say, what is wrong with you? You do not associate with people that treat marriage like a joke, that are practically raping women. But we know that has been the culture of many of the secular elites. Now, I do want to say that in the Ronan Farrow book, I think the least plausible thing in the whole book, and you've just pointed out the holes in it, is this allegation of rape against Matt Lauer. Because it sounds like, my goodness, you've done 5 shots. You're a woman. You've done 5 shots. You're in his hotel room. Her defense, she actually said this, was she was too drunk to say no. She actually said that she could not.
But I'm just saying, I think conservatives are missing the forest for the trees. What we have here is another Jeffrey Epstein story with these gross, disgusting elites, the ones who go on TV and weep to us about the Kurds, about the, children in cages. They are absolute moral monsters. They treat women like ashtrays. They treat marriage as a joke. This is the exact same people. I mean, I've certainly known from my first book, High Crimes and Misdemeanors, about Bill Clinton. Who was it who defended him? Well, gosh, an awful lot of the same people, as I pointed out at the time, who defended OJ. Also the ones who are right there to defend Jeffrey Epstein, covering up for him, protecting him. The way the New York Times knew about Epstein and wrote flattering profiles about him because they have a board member who's on the MIT board and collecting money from Epstein. And now we see the same thing with Matt Lauer and Hillary Clinton and all circling the wagons to protect Harvey Weinstein. These are the people who come after us For, children in cages,
well,
which, by the way, is all caused by the ACLU, but that's another story.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, though. So you don't think that all of these revelations are leading to some extent to the draining of the so-called swamp, that we would never have heard of these things 10 years ago? Something is happening where we're seeing these things. These things are coming to light. And I do want to talk to you.
They came to light eventually with Bill Clinton. I mean, I don't think no, Trump gets no credit for this.
All right, score that as a 0 credit. Okay, I want to talk to you about impeachment.
I'm not attacking him for it. He hasn't done anything bad.
No, I know.
I mean, you're getting a little 3D chessy on me.
No, that was actually 4D chess. That's why you didn't pick up on it, Ann. Okay, impeachment.
I wrote a book on it.
What do we? Well, no. You wrote a book on impeachment like a long
right,
time
but
ago.
That
High
tells
crimes
you
and misdemeanors.
That's
that's a term from the Constitution.
But
we all know that's
it
a living
curious?
document. It doesn't apply anymore. Go ahead.
Isn't it curious that the left has not been able to mine that book for any quotes they could use against me? And you know why that is? Because I speak the truth. So nothing I say will ever come back to bite me. Obviously, when I wrote High Crimes and Misdemeanors, the subtitle will give away the theme, the case for the impeachment of Bill Clinton. I would be loosening the standards, if anything. No, I just went back and described the last, 400 years of where the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors came from. And nothing in that book is of any use to these lunatics in the claiming they can impeach Donald Trump. They wanted to impeach him from the moment they saw him. The left always wants to impeach Republicans for policy disputes, which is textbook black letter law, not what impeachment is for. That's what elections are for.
Well, it's also not what democracy is for. We don't do that.
Elections are for.
I've been saying this, as you know, for many months, that when I looked at the crop of candidates that were out there on the Democratic side, I thought they're going to eat each other alive. And when they're all like on the ground bleeding and moaning, like an old bass out of the weeds will come Hillary Clinton to save America. I really maintain that, because I cannot picture her watching TV and thinking all of these people who are infinitely less qualified and less deserving than I would be the first woman president or whatever.
That's like Donald builds the wall. It's a very happy thought. It's not going to happen.
Really?
No. Oprah might. I believe that. I also think, I know from watching a little bit of cable news over the years, I know that what you're supposed to do is go on and whisper sweet nothings in your listeners' ears and not speak the truth. That's always been a downfall of mine. Look, I wouldn't be so confident Trump is going to win re-election. I'm not saying he's going to lose, but even if they run a lunatic against him.
Right.
And why is that? He didn't keep his promises. Some percentage of his base is not happy. The media and the left.
It's a pretty small percentage, Ann.
Just because you're not allowed to see them on Fox News doesn't mean they don't exist. Point two, the same way with Hillary, people just hated Hillary. She is a very hateful person. And a lot of voters just took the position, I don't care, don't tell me about who's running against her. I don't want to know. I'm voting for whomever is not Hillary. I think a lot of people are going to do that with Donald Trump. So you can keep looking at the crazy proposals of Elizabeth Warren, and Biden looks like he's out of it, but who knows, or the rest of them, and reparations and ending health insurance, and so on and so forth, and we're going to open up the borders. These aren't popular, but a large number of people are just going to say, I can't take this anymore. And the only thing that's going to stop the media from yelling at me every night is if we get rid of this guy. I don't care who they're running against him. So I think it's 50-50. Obviously, the incumbent has advantages, usually wins. I would not be so cocksure that this is a shoo-in.
I'm sorry, what? I wasn't listening. Aha, we'll be right back with Ann Coulter. Hey, folks, it's the Eric Metaxas Show, and I got Ann Coulter in the studio. And I've decided to let you get a word in edgewise. So tell us, when you say the media is missing the forest for the trees with regard to the Me Too scandal and everything, you're saying that basically the incredible moral horrors that we hear about coming from people who lecture us is not being talked about. But I feel like people do make that point. It's just hard to kind of get anywhere with it, because those people have always been doing that.
I don't know. I don't think that's a good argument.
Okay.
Don't point it out because I've heard it before.
Well, no, but I mean, I feel I do hear people pointing it out.
You cannot
is
drive
my point.
this into people often enough. How sick these elites are who are bossing us around, and they have the audacity to talk about Donald Trump lowering his morals.
Right. Well, William
What
F.
has
Buckley.
he done?
William F. Buckley famously, of course, said that I would rather be governed by the first 300 names in the Boston phone book than the faculty of Harvard University. Nothing has changed. That the elites have always been out of touch.
It's far worse now. Now, I think in the last, that was just snippy liberals. That was, the best and the brightest.
Yeah.
No, now we have the gender feminist, social justice warrior types, what they were dreaming up in the education schools 20 years ago. White privilege? They get people talking about white, that was, that's something that the Weather Underground would have talked about. And that is now being taught in schools. White privilege. I had an idea.
It's ironic because the only reason I even had you on is because
of my
you're
white
a black
privilege.
woman.
That's true, and it's about darn time. So one of my friends
in America, you can be whoever you want to be.
Has kids
just
at a
that.
very fancy private school with the children of lots of actors in Los Angeles, and apparently there are many, many white privilege weeks where they all denounce themselves for their privilege. And I had
it's something out of
a
Red
great
China.
idea,
It's
which
gross.
I don't think I've persuaded him is a good idea. And that is that all the students, because they do have to apply to college, that they do something about their white privilege when they get admitted to their top, whatever it is, colleges, 5, 10, they say, I will not take this spot. I would like it to go to a minority.
Right. I'm sure they'll do that any minute.
Yeah, and until they do that, not really buying they care about it.
Well, I guess I'm hopeful that Trump will be elected. I'm sure that he'll be elected. But I will say this much. We're right not to take it for granted because of where things are. And I guess when I think about where we are right now with impeachment and all these things, do you not think that your average American does see the madness of all of these things and that he is a very rare, sane voice on a lot of these issues?
Well,
it's almost shocking.
Right back to the original point from my first segment last week.
We were so much younger then.
Which is, we were so much younger.
But we're wiser
and I had so
now.
much hope.
We're so much wiser.
Which is when you say, doesn't your average American see that? Well, yeah, but the average American is being outvoted by Somalis.
Yeah.
I have bad news for you. That's why, I thought it was over, the country was over, the night Romney lost his election. He was the toughest on immigration, believe it or not, up until Trump came along. Gingrich was talking about, we're not going to tear children from their grandmothers. And, of course, they all wanted to grant
By the way,
amnesty. All of them.
You know he's a cannibal. I shouldn't say that about somebody on the program, but it's true. It's horrible.
The night Romney lost, I thought it was going to be pedal to the metal opening the borders with Obama because he could just wreck the country in one swell swoop. We made it somehow. Trump came along. The night he was elected, I thought we had a 90% chance of saving it. Now he's done nothing. I think it's about 1%. Remember, Trump only won with 80,000 votes spread over 4 states. And those aren't the people who are being interviewed on TV. So yes, I think what the Democrats are doing is helping Trump. Is that going to be enough? Has Texas flipped? Has Florida flipped? If Trump ends up losing, I will say, I hope he loses by the exact number of felons that Jared re-enfranchised.
I'm not going to go there because
That
I'm a
was
nice
a great
person.
idea.
And here's what we're going to talk about. What you just said about the upcoming election. I guess the question is, the reason I keep bringing up Hillary, I look at the field and I think there doesn't seem to be anybody vaguely that seems like they might be president.
That's what Californians would have said a few years ago about someone like Gavin Newsom.
I know, but there's always California. I still don't.
California, yeah, always California. California, not long ago, gave us President Nixon and President Reagan.
I know, but that's a little while ago.
So once the country changes, this appeal to what does the average American think, you're about to be outvoted, average American. And until Americans wake up to that, you're about to lose everything.
So you're saying, if I'm interpreting it correctly, that that the president should build the wall. Am I getting that right? Because I don't want to misrepresent you. That he should build the wall.
Deport illegals and anchor babies retroactively. Should have ended the nonsense, the unconstitutional amnesty for dreamers. I mean, Obama himself said for whatever it was, 6 years, he said, I can't do this by executive order. It would be unconstitutional. Then he does the thing that the law professor had told us was unconstitutional. How hard is it to come in and undo an executive order that the person who signed it said was unconstitutional?
So my question is, and try to be succinct because I don't want to miss this. I'm not kidding. Why do you think he hasn't? Why do you think the president hasn't? Because you make it sound so easy, and I wish it were, but I feel like I'm missing something.
I think he is a lazy, narcissistic. I can't use all the words scrolling through my head. I mean, if you don't like anal rape, you're not going to like the ones I'm coming up with now. I think he's lazy. I think he's narcissistic. I think if it requires him to so much as walk across the street to keep one promise to his supporters, no, that's too much trouble. I got to make a phone call to Lindsey Graham? No, here I'm going to go back and tweet. I'm going to sit in bed and eat a cheeseburger. And how's Ivanka doing? Send her in.
I hope the president doesn't listen to this interview because I don't think you're persuading him very effectively.
What can I do to promote my children and their companies?
You're playing into the Democrats' narrative right now. We're going to be right back, folks. We're going to continue talking to Ann Coulter.
No, I'm not. If I were playing into their narrative, they'd put me on. I'm no help for them.
You know, I forgot to tell you something. I'm so glad you're still listening. Not everybody knows this, but a lot of the characters in this book, including the dinosaurs, are sort of meant to resemble actual historical people who are alive today. You might find, for example, Rachel Maddow in the book. You might find Sean Hannity in the book. If you think that the orange Triceratops looks like John Brennan, you might not be the only one who thinks that. There's a turtle who looks like a Senate Majority Leader. That's not the turtle's fault. All turtles have been cursed with that. They all look like him. But there's also a senator from New York who wears half glasses. He cries a lot. He might be in the book. There's all kinds of people in the book like that. And there's a vicious gang called MSNBC 13. I just wanted you to know when you read this book, you're reading about current day history. Don't miss it. Hey folks, it's the Eric Metaxas Show. I'm talking to Ann Coulter, and I'm sad because this is the last segment with you, and you're not around that much, and you're so much fun to talk to. What you were just talking about, I was just saying that when you make it sound like Trump is just trying to prop up his kids and their businesses, I don't agree with that, but I said you're sort of playing into the Democrats' narrative that Biden is doing the same thing and that there's no difference.
Well, incidentally, that isn't my main argument against him. I was just sort of rambling at the end of a question you asked me.
Right.
And I don't know. Why isn't he keeping his promises? I mean, I could say check with his, who knows? Check his dream journal. I don't know. I'm just guessing, and this is what it looks like to me. So that was the end of that question. But when you say...
very, very funny. I want to write a humor piece of his dream journal.
But when you say you are playing into the liberal version, I do want to point out, well, two things. One is that I think you don't fully understand how people will say and do anything to be on TV, as we know from what has happened at various networks and the men they're willing to have sexual relations with in order to be on TV. So, of course, they'll go on TV and say things they don't believe.
I got this job by having a relationship with Bella Abzug in the 70s. I didn't like it 1 minute, but let me tell you something. I'm here, aren't I? I love you, Bella.
But look, if I were saying things that were at all, this is a point about the left and what they care about. If I were saying things, as much as I bash Trump for not keeping his promises, if I were saying anything that helped the left, I would be getting calls. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Now, isn't it curious? I'm not saying I do those shows. I don't want to help them. I mean, they're crazy. Don't get me wrong. Why isn't that? Because the reason they hate Trump is because they hate America. They hate this Christian country. They hate God most of all. That's why they hate Trump. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but Christians seem to understand that. Non-Christians don't. You can have a non-Christian that is saving a Christian country, and that's what Trump promised to be. What they hate is civilization and this country, and Trump is just the representative of that. That's why I am not helpful to their cause, because I'm trying to keep the president to keep his promises so that we can save this wonderful country.
I wish we were out of time, but we're not. We've got another
Just
2
didn't
minutes
want
to
that
No,
one
but you
to
just made such a
slide.
great point there, because I think you're right. We could unpack that for 2 hours. Maybe the next time you're here, we'll do that. But what you just said, I think, is exactly correct. We're talking about some issues like American-style self-government, liberty. Those are the things that have made this country great. And if we don't preserve them, and if we don't build the wall and deal with immigration, those things go away. And there's no one waiting in the wings to take our place.
Nope.
To hold up the...
It's going to be China, apparently. We're all bowing down to them right now. But no, and also, I mean, the identity politics stuff, and it's just going to get worse. I mean, as I've said many times, and I think this is a useful point for conservatives to keep in mind, affirmative action, the civil rights laws, set-asides, discrimination law, that is for one group of people, the descendants of American slaves. I'm so fed up with, ties. They get here on Friday. By Monday, I noticed there are no ties on the evening news broadcast.
Right.
No, screw you. We didn't do anything to you. That isn't part of the umbrella. It ends up being nothing but an anti-white program. And the more groups you bring in, I mean, it's crazy that we're, help me, I'm trying to escape. They get here and suddenly they're getting preferential treatment, getting into college over an American kid.
We're out of time.
No, preferential treatment is for the descendants of American slaves, period.
But you realize that what we're talking about is cultural Marxism. That's exactly
Yes.
what it is. You know that. We've said it. In Coulter, I'm so sorry we're out of time. My friend, thank you.
Thank you. See you around Christmas.